Yes, I want to talk to you about today. Do something different. Do something different. I want to kind of bring a scripture in for this podcast today because I think it will help us to understand how we need to do something different. And I'm going to come from Matthew chapter 14, verse 25, ending at verse 28. And I'm going to read from the Passion Translation. And it says, "At about 4:00 in the morning, Jesus came to them, walking on the waves. When the disciples saw him walking on top of the water, they were terrified and screamed, 'A ghost!' Then Jesus said, 'Be brave and don't be afraid. I am here.' Peter shouted out, 'Lord, if it's really you, then have me join you on the water.' 'Come and join me,' Jesus replied. So Peter stepped out onto the water and began to walk toward Jesus. And then he said, but when he realized how high the waves were, he became frightened and started to sink. 'Save me, Lord,' he cried out. Jesus replied, stretched out his hand and lifted him up and said, 'What little faith you have, why would you let doubt win?' What little faith you have, why would you let doubt win?" And I actually went all the way down to verse 31. And so in this text, we see that, it's foggy, a storm is approaching, the wind is blowing, the disciples are in a boat drifting away, and Jesus has just finished praying and heads to the boat to meet up with the disciples. He not only is heading to the boat, but he's walking on water to get to the boat. What an amazing scene, because to see something or someone walking on water to get to a particular destination is truly amazing. And as Jesus approached the boat, the disciples are a little taken away by the fact that they see something moving towards them with fear and trembling, and they believe it's a ghost, but in fact, it's Jesus trying to meet them at the boat. And Peter, who was up for the challenge, asks Jesus, "If it is you, please allow me to do the same as you." And Jesus agrees and allows Peter to start walking towards him. And before he gets as far as Jesus, however, he begins to doubt his ability to continue. How many of you know or have been in a place or a particular space, in your mind where you doubted the ability of what you could do? You doubted the ability to do something different, knowing in fact that you could do something different, but for some reason, something put you into a space, having you to believe and doubt the ability to do something different than what you wanted to do. And I believe that as we are becoming ourselves, as we are becoming who God has created us to become and to be, we must understand that, sometimes we have to put ourselves in a position to do something different. In fact, we sometimes don't do anything different is because we're always doing the same thing all the time. We like have routines that we do every single day, and it's the same old every single day, and we never even think about doing something new. And I believe that this text is just a reminder of us, Jesus wanting us to do something different so that we can become who God has created us to be, so that we can become, ourselves. How can we become ourselves if we just continue to, sit where we're at, continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, not moving towards basically the will that God has for our lives? How can we get up off that couch? How can we even get away from the mindset that we're in if we how can we get from the mindset that we in and do something different if we continue to do the same thing over and over every single day? And I believe that, we must, put ourselves in a position to do something different. You see, Peter here, he wants to do something different, right? But he is unable to go on. And he wants to be able to do what he sees, Jesus doing, which is walking on water. And he's probably like, wow, man, you're doing that thing. You're really, walking on water. How can I do that? How can I, get an opportunity to walk on water? As a matter of fact, can I get your permission to allow me to walk on water? And Jesus gives him that permission to walk on water, and as Peter walks on water, he's very excited, because he's doing something different. He's not allowing anything, basically to get in his way, because he knows in his mind that this is something that he wanted to do, because he saw, someone else doing it, right? And so even as he's walking on this water, he begins now to have some sort of doubt, in his ability to continue on, to walk on the water, even though he has gotten permission to do so. He's now having, some doubts in his ability to continue. And so what happens is, because of his doubtfulness, and because his mindset has now changed, because he's walking on water, he begins to sink, and he must, be rescued. He begins to sink. And why is he beginning to sink? He began to sink because, he didn't think, he may have thought that he wasn't going to make it to the boat. Or it could have been, which I believe is, he saw some storm coming, some waves coming, and, got so scared and afraid and frightened that, he couldn't continue on, doing the thing that he believed that he could do. And so although the climatic focus is in this passage rests more with Peter's failure than with his accomplishment, Peter is trying to do something different and believes for a moment that he can do the same thing as Jesus by walking on water. But he fails at the attempt of believing in what he can do. He starts out believing first, but a couple of seconds later begins to sink because something has distracted him. What has distracted you in your life? Where at one moment, at one point, you was believing in everything that you could do, everything that God was sharing with you. You was believing, and you believed that you could do it and that you could do it well. But then all of a sudden, something came up and distracted you, where now you begin to doubt, you begin to fear, you begin to wonder, if you can and if you could, like you begin to, just have this rehearsal thing going on in your mind, because of the distraction. These winds and these waves have caught your attention. And so you are now believing that, because of this distraction and because the distraction has caught your attention, that you really can't go on. But can I tell you that you can go on, that you can move forward no matter what the distraction is, no matter what, is coming up against you, no matter what storm has arrived in your life? Because guess what? God wants you to become you. He wants you to become who he has created you to be. And you must believe that you can finish, that you must believe that you can do the impossible, because he has put it inside of you. It is on the inside of you that is making you to become the person that God has created for you to be. And I just believe that sometimes we have to have these storms and we have to have these distractions come into our life, because these storms and these distractions actually puts us in a space, a mindset where we now have to focus on God, and we have to focus on God, totally, because guess what? Those distractions are not going to allow us to win. Those storms are not going to allow us to win. But guess what? When we put our focus on, on God, when we put our focus on, the higher power, which is God, guess what? We know that we can do the impossible. And so we know that we can do something different, because it is in us to do something different. It is in us to not stay stay the same way. Matter of fact, when these distractions and when these storms come, guess what? These storms and distractions should be able to help you grow, right? It should help you grow to the point where, these distractions and storms no longer bother you. You become unbothered because of the distractions and because of the storm. And so you can't allow these distractions and these storms to put you in a funk, to put you in a place where, you're not fulfilling the will, God, has for your life. You got to, shake it off, just shake that thing off and get up and get moving, because there is destiny and purpose and assignment, on your life. Peter, he had purpose. He has destiny. He had destiny on his life, and at one moment, he begins to be distracted. He begins to be, even when, as Jesus is going to be, crucified, Jesus told him that, Peter was going to deny him 3 times, and Peter was like, oh, no, I'm not going to deny you because I know who you are. But Jesus knew who he was. Jesus knew exactly, what he was going to do. Although he had purpose and destiny for his life, there were some distractions and some storms that came up in Peter's life that caused him, to forget, the call that he had on his life. And so you must be able to identify, when those storms and when those distractions come. And believe you me, people will come and they will warn you of the distractions and they will warn you of the storms. But guess what? When that warning comes, you have, you can prepare yourself you can prepare yourself, for those distractions and for those storms. And so I believe that, you can finish. You can do something different in your life so that you can become, whole, that you can become who God, has created you to be, so that you can become you. And it's like, some of us who ask for something, we want to do it, but doubt begins to set in and we are unable to believe and achieve that which we had asked for can happen in us and with us too. You see, it is easy. Or it was easy for Jesus to walk, on water and even, get to the boat. But has anyone ever seen a human walk on water? I know I've never seen a human walk on water, but guess what? Peter saw him walk on water. And when Peter saw him walk on water, it began to spark some, vision for him. It began to spark some ideas for him. It began to put a new meaning, of life, within him. He had like a new meaning, like he is something stirred up on the inside of him where he was like, what? I got to do this. I got to do this some way, some way, somehow I got to do this because I want to see, what it feels like to walk on water. Right. And so, that's why he asked him, could he walk on water? And Jesus allowed him to walk on water. See, the biggest thing that we have to, get ourselves to the point of not fearing, because fear is what, will make us or break us. Fear is what, will put us into a place of, not expecting the things that God has, for us. And so, we got to put ourselves in a space where we can expect, be in expectancy and expect all the things that God has for us, all those opportunities God has for us. God has so many doors of opportunities that he wants to open for you. But guess what? They stay closed because you fear, you fear the unknown. You fear, how it's going to, turn out. You fear, if you get to that place, and people going to like you or not. Guess what? No, don't worry about those things, right? Because God wants to put you into position to be great and to be great, as doing something different, for him. And so we got to go and put ourselves, in that space so that we can do something different. And we can't allow fear, to hold us back. We can't allow doubt to hold us back. We just can't. We can't do it because we can't afford to do it because there is so much potential, that is begging to come out. That potential is saying, let me out, let me out, let me out. I want to come out. I want to do what God, is doing. I mean, that's like your soul speaking. Your soul was speaking like, I need to do this. I need to get out there and do more, because I feel like that I am ready for more. I feel like that I was created for more. And guess what? You were created for more, and that's why you feel the way that you do. And so you have to be like Peter, and you have to be bold. You have to have some tenacity. You have to, want to, go out there and do something big. And so when I think of even children, they don't fear nothing. Matter of fact, children are risk takers. They will go out there and take risks, and they're always doing something different, right? And so, as a child, when you're in that age, you will go out there and you will go and do something different, and you will reach your highest potential at that age, because you're not afraid to go out there and do things. Just think about it. Think about when you were a child, think about when you were a teenager. What are the things that you took risk on? What are the things that, you knew that, if you took that risk that, all good things were going to happen, that there's something good was going to come out of it. Guess what? You gotta, have that back in your life. You gotta have, that thing in your life where you didn't fear anything. Fear, was not even a part of your life. Fear could not grip you. Fear could not have you, because guess what? You knew nothing basically about fear. And so guess what? You were ready and willing to go out there, and defeat the odds. You didn't care, if you was going to be laughed at. You didn't care, if people were going to talk about you. No, you just went out there and do it. And guess what? And it put you into a place today of where you are. So see, you're somewhat still fulfilling, the assignment, that God has on your life, but there is so much more that God wants you to do, in life, so that you can fulfill more of your assignment that God has for you. And sometimes, people will get in the way, of you fulfilling your assignment. People, will intentionally, block you, from doing your assignment. But guess what? If you are one of those persons who are not fearing, and if you're one of those persons who are all in with God, guess what? You can walk and you can move forward boldly, because the anointing and the assignment, that is on your life. And so don't allow, others to take you out of position. Don't allow others, to make you, get up out of your seat. No, you go and you rightfully go and take what's yours. You go and fulfill the promises that God has for you, and don't allow fear to grip you to the point where you no longer want to do it. That ain't nothing but the devil in disguise. Fear is nothing but the devil in disguise. Fear doesn't want you to make it. Fear wants you to have all this anxiety. Fear wants you to have all this stress. Fear just wants to take you out, right? And fear does not want you to move forward. And so you have to learn how to move forward and not allow fear to take over your emotions, take over your thinking patterns, or your thinking, take over you, because then you will be no good to yourself, and you will not be able to realize and understand the full potential that you have, and that God has, given you, because, you have power. You have so much power within you. And some people just don't recognize the power that is within them. You have the power, to speak a thing. You have the power to do a thing, because guess what? It is within you. It is within you, because God gave you that power. He gave you, power, and he gave you dominion. He gave you all of those things, but guess what? You have to believe in the power that God has given you, because power and believing, unlike any other power in the universe, it has the potential to change the natural into the supernatural. It can save a soul. It can heal a body. It can change the course of nature. It can do anything. Do you not know that believing in the most powerful thing a human being can have, yet believing in one thing that many of us have trouble doing is hard to believe in yourself, alone believe that you can do something different? And so my question, is how do you begin, to do something different? What does it take to even believe that you can do something different? To do something different, you must never let that fear, as I said, control your mind, or control your every move. What will keep you from moving forward? You have dreams, you have desires to accomplish something great, but there is something that keeps you from actually achieving it. And it is the wave of our doubts. It is the storms and the fears of not knowing what's ahead. Or is it the wave of, or the storms of your past? I found that our past, specifically our mistakes, often cloud how we behave in the present. If you've made some mistakes and if you have some guilt and shame because of those mistakes, guess what? It's going to make you behave differently, in your present, because you're not going to know, how to move, the way that you need to move, because you got stuck on, the mistake that you did. You got stuck on that. And now you probably feeling, shame and guilt and stuff like that, but you got to get over it. Guess what? You made the mistake and now it's time to move on. God forgives you, no matter whoever doesn't forgive you, God, truly, forgives you. And so you got to take that mistake and make it a win for you. Too often we only look at, the negative, the mistakes, and remember our failures. And we try to figure out, that the failures will continue and we'll never grow to the point of believing in ourselves. When we allow the failures, and the mistakes to consume us, guess what? We grow to a point of not believing in ourselves. And when those winds and those storms are against us, it can be as fearful, or a fearful experience. And this fearful experience will have many people losing because of the fearful experience that they are experiencing, right? And so we have to basically let it go. We have to let go of those distractions. We have to let go of those ways. We have to let go of those storms. We have to let go of those mistakes so that we can do something different. So that we can do something different. And fear is one of the things that, keep us stuck, and we need to become unstuck. If you want to do something different, you must not allow fear to control your thinking and your every move. Fear is real. Let me tell you, fear will come in and take you to a place that you don't want to be at, right? It will take your mind somewhere where you don't even want to settle, at, because fear knows what it can do. Fear knows what it can do to you. Fear knows how it will, it will make you move. How you move, is what fear will do. And if you let fear control your every move, you will never get out of, the place, that you're in, the stagnation that you're in. And here for our text, the boat, and you will never get to walk on water because you allow fear, to, be in operation, over your life. And so you will never see that you can do it. You see fear comes in many forms, in private and in public, and knows no boundaries. Fear knows no boundaries, and none of us are completely free of it when we're making decisions. Letting go of fear and facing ourselves is frightening as the thought of stepping out of our safe boats or our safe place and walking across, the water as if it were dry land. You see, it's easy for us to walk on dry land because there is nothing to do, but to walk on water, that's something totally different. When we walk on dry land, we know we're not going to fall. We may trip up a little bit, right? But it's not going to hurt us, but if we go walk on some water, we can drown, we can literally drown. That water can get all up into your all up into your throat and, all up into your lungs, not your throat, your lungs, and take you out. But we still have to believe that no matter, what we have done and what we have been through, if we take the time to even make this decision today, is that, you want to do something different. You want to do something different out of the ordinary, right? Because when you do something different out of the ordinary, that's when you'll begin to feel empowered again. And so if you all, if some of you all are at a low place in your life, and you're just stuck and you just don't, feel yourself, guess what? get up and do something different, that will change the narrative to your life, that will change the narrative to your story, because you do have a story, but your story does not end here. Your story, ends, when God says it ends, but don't let your story stay the same. Amen. Don't let your story stay the same. Change the story. Allow that story to have movement. When people write books and stuff like that, they not writing, the same thing over and over again. They not writing walk on water, walk on water, walk on water, walk on water. Next chapter, walk on water, walk on water, chapter 3, walk on water. They're not doing that. No, each chapter, that they go through has a different, pattern, a different story. Matter of fact, it's flowing. It's like the first chapter, the second chapter is going to complement the first chapter. The third chapter is going to complement the second chapter. The fourth chapter is going to complement the third chapter, and so forth. And that's what you want, to have, as, you're writing your story. You want to be able to allow your story to flow and don't get stuck in one place, because God has more for you. More things for you to do. And so, you gotta, be able to say to yourself, yeah, I want to do something different. Yeah, I'm going to take on the world. Yeah, some people may be saying take on the world, but it feels like you want to take on the world, right? Because now there's something on the inside of you that's making you strong. There's something on the inside of you that's empowering you to want to do something different, right? So you got to get yourself into the place of doing something different. What is the difference? What is something different that you always wanted to do, but you never took the chance to do something different? Is it writing that book? Is it starting that business, right? What is it that is it getting your health, in check? Like, what is it that, you want to do that, or been wanting to do, that's different than what you normally are doing now? Because that's going to make a total difference in your life, because it's going to get you up and out and believing more, in yourself, and helping you to become, more, helping you to become more of who you are supposed to be, right? And so, if it's starting that business, go ahead, start it. If it's, going to school, go ahead, go to school. If it's, going into ministry, doing ministry, go ahead, do it. Yep, go ahead, do it, because guess what? You're doing something different. You're getting out of the boat you're getting out of the old rusty boat of your life, and you're going into a new, boat that's going to take you somewhere. It's going to take you somewhere, and it's going to lift your spirits as it takes you somewhere. And so, I want to say this. Absolutely, there is life outside of the boat, right? There is life outside of the boat. And so, you gotta, come out of that old rugged boat so that you can go to another boat, right? A boat that's more fresher, more refreshing, a boat that, fills you up, a boat that brings fulfillment into your life, a boat that makes you smile, a boat that makes you laugh, a boat that makes you, want to, just do more, more of whatever it is that you want to do more of, because there is life, outside the boat. So you can't let that fear, be a part of, be a part of your destiny or your purpose. And here's one thing I like too, from this text, is that, when Peter asked, Jesus if he could, give him permission to walk on water, what Peter was saying, is that if you give me permission to do this, right, I know that you believe in me. And so, to do something different, you must believe that God believes in you, right? You see, sometimes we want people to believe in us, and we don't receive it from others. And sometimes sometimes it keeps us from believing in ourselves. And if he didn't believe in you, he would not have told you to walk on water. If Jesus didn't believe in Peter, he would have never told him to walk on the water in the first place, right? And so same with you. God is not going to tell you to do something if he doesn't believe in you. He's not going to move you into that direction if he doesn't believe in you. And so he's only tells you to walk on water if he knows you can do it, right? And God knows that we can do a lot of things, but we just got to put our mind to, wanting to even do the thing that God is asking us to do. And so he never tells us to do something if he knows we can't do it. So you see, God is not going to tell you to do something different if he didn't believe in you himself. He's not going to tell you to do something different if he doesn't think that you can do it. And so how many of you know that God believes in you? If he said it, guess what? You can do it. If God is for us, who can be against us? You got to believe you can do something different. And if you want to walk on water, stop doubting yourself. Stop allowing yourself to not believe. You see, even when reading this text, I believe that Peter, when he asked Jesus to bid him to walk on water, he believed that he could do it. But as soon as he got out of the boat and started to walk, fear and doubt settled in, and it kept him from believing that he couldn't go any further. And you don't want to put yourself in a place where you think you can't go any further. You don't want to be stuck, in a place where, you say, okay, that was it. That's all. That was all for me. I have nothing left. No, you got more. There is more in you. And we know that we must believe in God, but do we realize that we must believe in ourselves first? When we believe in ourselves, we can do something different. When we believe, in ourselves, we can do more than what we could ever think or imagine. Nothing, will disturb us. Nothing will distract us. Nothing, will be able to influence, what it is that we believe that we can do. That's something different. And so Jesus said unto him, if thou can't believe, all things are possible to him that believe. And what shall we say to these things? If God is for you or for us, who can be against us? That's found in Romans 8:31. And here's Jeremiah, our favorite. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future, right? And so John 10 says, don't you know the thief only comes to steal, kill, and destroy? I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. And if you believe, you can achieve it. And if God gave you permission to do something different, then go for it, because he believes in you. The enemy will come and try to steal, kill, and destroy, but God says, I will give you life, and I will give you life more abundantly, or to the fullest, right? And so we have to believe that, in Jeremiah 29:11, that for, God, the plans that God has for us are plans to prosper us and not to harm us. And so if God is saying, and if we hear that, get that nudge in our spirit that says do something different, we got to go with what our soul is telling us, what our, instincts is telling us, what our intuition is saying. Get up and do something different. To do something different, you must never take your eyes off Jesus. See, that's the problem right there too. Sometimes that's why some people get so caught up in doing the wrong thing that they're not supposed to do, because they took their eyes off of Jesus. One moment they was on Jesus, and the next moment they took their eyes off Jesus. And then guess what? When you take your eyes off Jesus, that's when you begin to sink. That's when you begin to fail. That's when things begin to happen. And, some people, will beg to differ, but, I believe that, things just won't work out the way that you want it to work out, because you took your eyes off Jesus. And when you are doing something different, you definitely got to keep your eyes, on him, because he's the one that's going to help you to navigate through that, whatever that is that you're trying to do that's different, that's going to propel you to become even more of you, and to also flow and come in alignment for the will that God has for your life. And so in life, we have choices. We can focus on Jesus, or we can focus on the storm. Peter started by focusing on Jesus, but he couldn't keep his eyes off the storm. And so when he stopped focusing on Jesus and focused on that storm, that's when, things began to happen. And so maybe, God is trying to say, no matter what's happening, in your life, don't let that stop you, from focusing on me, because I'm going to give you that strength. I'm going to give you I'm going to empower you. I'm going to, help you get through, the things that, that is coming up against you. God says what? I will fight for you. And so as long as you be still and as long as you keep yourself focused on him, God will do all the fighting. You just keep moving in the direction that God has for you, by doing something different so that you can become, number one, as I always say, the best version of yourself. And number two, so that you can be flowing in the will of God for your life and those assignments that God has for your life, that purpose that God has for your life, that destiny God has for your life, so that you can be flowing in it without, any distractions or any cause. But then I also say this too, that when any storm or distractions are coming up against you, guess what? I so believe this, that's when you really need to be doing something different, because that's when God is truly moving in your life. Like something great, something big, something's going to happen. Something great is getting ready to happen in your life because of the storm, because of the distraction. But if you don't look at it like that, guess what? You will fall into a rut. You will fall into, something that you was not created to fall into. And so you got to get yourself out of that place where it's taking a toll on you. And so you got to be able to bring your focus back to God. A lot of people, say this, and I say it as well. When those distractions come, it might hit you for a minute. It might give you a good punch for a minute. But guess what? You can't let that take you out. But you got to keep your focus on God. And I believe that sometimes too is that when those things so distracts you, or gets your full attention, is that God is making you or wanting you to turn back to him, to really seek him, to really, want to be connected to him, so that, he can, heal you from the inside out of whatever distracted you or whatever storm has come up against you. But I believe that in this season, even with this quarantine, that, God, wants us to do something different. He does not want us to be, doing the same thing pre-pandemic. He wants us, when we come out of it, for the post-pandemic, he wants us to all be, doing something great. He wants us to all be doing something great. And so we gotta, put our energies into doing something different, so that when we come out of it, we will be, good, like God will really be able to, be pleased of how we use the time of being in quarantine to really do something different. And so, we got to do, something different. Don't say, you think you can. Don't say, oh, I can't. No, you can and you will, go and do something different, and you will make a difference in somebody's life, because guess what? Somebody's waiting for you. Somebody is waiting on you to do something different, because that something different is going to also change their lives as well. They're going to be like, hey, wait a minute. He or she just did that. They just did that, and now they starting to believe, because they like, dang, if God can do it for them, then yeah, God can do it for me too. And so we got to get ourselves in that spot, in that space where, we can truly, operate and doing something different and doing something great, with even the distractions and even with the storms, that are around us. We know the storms are always going to be there. It's always going to be somebody's storm. Somebody's going to be going through a storm, but you got to be able to move past that, so you can do something different. And so don't take your focus off of, the plan that God has for you. We may not see the whole plan, but there is a plan, and that plan is bigger than what we think, right? But God wants to really, truly do some amazing things in our life, but we got to be willing to take the time out to do something different. We got to take the time out to do something different, because when we do so, God gets the glory, and we are rewarded because we did something different, and we can see ourselves even more, in it, because we did something different. So today, I want you to get up and do something different. What is it that you want to do that will be different and that will move you closer to becoming you, closer to becoming who God has created you to be, closer to doing and fulfilling the will God has placed on your life. Today, I want you to get up and I want you to do something different. Believe in yourself. Don't allow doubt or fear or confusion to get in the way of you doing something different. Because guess what? I believe in you, and you should believe in yourself too. Because God has a purpose. He has a plan for your life to do something different, to do something different. I'm Dr. Diane Duckett, and thank you for listening to another episode of Becoming You.